You are now listening to Broken Home Survivalist.
What's up? Okay, so obviously it has been a long ass time, but hey, I'm here just in time to say happy Halloween. Hopefully everybody out there is being safe, having fun, doing what you do. So one of the reasons, okay, I was about to just jump right into this, but obviously, I have a lot going on, blah, 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 like I always talk about, but I appreciate everybody who's still downloading, subscribing. These episodes are not quite on a schedule yet. Hopefully, they'll be more regular eventually one day when I get some more time. But until then, thank you for bearing with me and just tuning in when you get that update on your phone or device, whatever that you're listening on. One thing I want to remind everybody about is if you have the time, then please rate and review. That'll help move up the chart in whatever you're listening to, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or whatever, wherever you're listening to this podcast on. So that would be greatly appreciated. And also, once more people start listening, then I can put more time into what you're listening to. I can put more time into more episodes. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let's move on to some of the fun stuff. Let's talk about something a little bit off topic from what we normally do and just tell some fun stories, some fun, scary, freaky stories. Some of them may be true. Maybe some of them are just for fun. But either way, it's Halloween. Let's do this. Okay, so this first one, I was talking with some people. This one was on Instagram, I believe. And the second story that I'll talk about after this was through Twitter. If you're not following on either one of those platforms, on Instagram, it is Broken Home Survivalist with underscores between each of those words. And on Twitter, we are at BH Survivalist, I believe. But that's all going to be in the show notes. You'll see it below after the show is over. Go ahead and take a look at them show notes. Okay, so this first story is something that maybe a lot of people have heard, but depending on what circles you run in, this may be something new, maybe a story that you haven't heard before. And that is the Black Eyed Kids. So the Black Eyed Kids is something that has been coming up over maybe the last 30 years. Some people will say that it was much earlier than that, but the first real documented account of these Black Eyed Kids was in, I believe, 1996. I'm looking at my notes here. So yeah, it was in 1996 by a gentleman named Brian Bethel. So if you never heard of these Black Eyed Kids, it is exactly what it sounds like. So this is when you have the whites of your eye, like everything in your eye, not just the color of your eye, but everything, the whites in your eye, everything is black. So just a complete blackness, like something you'd see on a reptile or something. But then these eyes are being seen on young children that are showing up on people's porches, knocking on people's car doors at odd hours of the night, and they're always asking to be let inside. I know there's been a couple of movies pretty low budget movies, but there's been a couple of movies that have been made about these encounters. A lot of people say that the movies are not doing it justice, because these stories are absolutely just give you nightmares type shit. And the very first occurrence that was reported, like I said, by Mr. Brian Bethel, he was in a movie theater parking lot. So this was 1996. He was in a movie theater parking lot. And what he says is he was just writing his checkbook, I believe, right? And then that's when he heard somebody tapping on the glass of his car, right on the window. And he had turned and noticed that there was two young boys sitting outside of his car. And he didn't know why, but for some reason he just felt scared, like he was fearful. And these were young kids. He was like, why am I scared right now? But he couldn't help the way that he felt. And the older boy was explaining to Mr. Bethel that they needed a ride and they were trying to catch a movie, but they just needed a ride, and they wanted him to open the car door. Now he thought that it was strange, because one of the older boy had actually pointed out, he said, it's okay, it's safe, we don't have a gun. And that right off hand, that made him think twice, like, okay, that's a weird thing to say, because he wasn't even thinking of that, because the boys were young. These are like, preteen or even slightly younger boys. So he's thinking like, no, I don't want to give you boys a ride anywhere. And so these kids just keep asking and asking over and over again, please just give us a ride. We're not going to hurt you. It's safe. And the more that he was telling them, unfortunately, I can't give you a ride, the more frustrated that they were getting. And, after a while, after going back and forth with them, and he had noticed for some reason out of nowhere, when, I don't know if it was the light that hit different or he just was paying attention more from avoiding that eye contact, but he had noticed mid-conversation that their eyes were completely black. Now, this was, like I said, this was in the 90s. This was before all the TikToks and YouTube and everything. So there was nobody out here pranking for likes and follows and all that stuff. So that was not even something that was on his mind. His fear was genuine before he even saw it. And it was worse once he realized that these boys' eyes were such dark blackness. And if you follow on Instagram, I'll go ahead and post some photos of what these people are describing when they see this. But anyway, so he is, of course, scared the hell out of his mind. So he just floors it, hits the gas, and peels out of there. And till this day, he stands by his story. He swears up and down, this is not a misunderstanding. This was not contacts. That there was just something about this incident that scared the hell out of him. And, so that's just something to think about if you see some young kids on your doorstep on Halloween. Probably when you're listening to this, if you got some kids knocking on their door and you see them black eyes, you might want to think twice whether or not that's a costume. Anyways, so I did get a good suggestion on Twitter talking about the ghost. Somebody asked, can you please check out the ghost of Gladstone Villa? So this is something that I'm definitely interested in reading on more. But unfortunately, almost every story that I read, everything, YouTube, other people's podcasts, there's stuff on Reddit, everything is all referencing the same story of written by Mr. Andrew Dexter. And that is great, but I want to be able to find more of a history here than just one person's encounter. So I'm going to do some more diving because this was a little bit of a late suggestion. I'm going to do some more diving, and I'm going to see if I can find some more history and stuff to talk about. And please, if anybody has any links on the history, what is behind the ghost of Gladstone, and this is over in the UK, I would be happy to see what you send me so I can learn some more about it. I want to read something that maybe people haven't heard already, and totally put some new information out there. So with that being said, we're going to come back to that one when I learn some more. And we are going to go ahead and move on to the final story because I like to keep my podcast short and simple. But the final story, it was something I came across when I was actually reading More People's Encounters with the Black-Eyed Kids. I came across something that was similar, but just freaky on a whole nother level. So let's jump into that one.
Okay, so you try again, and this time I'm sure I'll be really scared.
Okay, so this story was written by someone going by the name of Kay Mendo, and it is titled The Boy with No Eyes. That gives you an idea what we're jumping into. So we will just start reading as Kay Mendo wrote it. One night when I was 10, I was woken up by my bedroom door opening, followed by someone sitting on my bed. Kay Mendo recalls of a childhood brush with a very persistent ghostly apparition. I felt my leg grazed and the bed sink under a person's weight. It's just my mom, I thought, and I opened my eyes. But it wasn't my mom. I found an eyeless boy. He had black, empty sockets, about my age, sitting at the foot of my bed. He extended his hand, and in it was a little box. I was startled, but I reached out. He pulled his hand back. I reached again and said, "Give it." Then I blinked, and when I reopened my eyes, he was gone. But I could still see the imprint where he had sat on my bed. Now, fast forward 5 years. My girlfriend came over to do some homework, and after she finished, she took a nap, and while she waited for her parents, they arrived. I tried waking her up. She opened her eyes suddenly, looking up at the corner, right where the wall had met the ceiling. She pointed there, and then she went back to sleep. I shook her again to wake her up, and she came to full consciousness, and when I explained what she'd done, she looked haunted. Up on the wall, she said, I saw a little boy with no eyes. He was there, in a Spider-Man-like pose, staring at me. I freaked out, and then I told her about my story of what had happened to me when I was a kid, and about how I had seen the same thing. Now, if that wasn't freaky enough, fast forward another 5 years. I was with the same girlfriend, and we had a 2-year-old at that time, and we were living in my parents' house, in my old room. And my daughter started waking up at the same time every night, and she'd talk, and after a while I noticed she had almost the same conversation every night. So I playfully asked her, I said, "Who are you talking to?" She said, "It's a little boy. He's nice, but he's lost, and he's looking for his mommy." Now, the daughter's nightly conversations continued all the time, almost every night, until they got a place later that year. And all of a sudden, the conversation stopped. The little boy was no more around, no more conversations in the middle of the night. So he ends it right there like that, to just basically say, hey, as soon as they left the house, that was not happening anymore. So there's definitely something going on in that house. And I don't know about you, but waking up in the middle of the night to a little boy crawling up the wall with some eyes missing, that sounds like some horror movie shit right there. So yeah, that's definitely, I don't even think I would be in that house. It's like when I'm reading this story and he keeps saying fast forward another 5 years and fast forward another 5 years, I'm just like, why are you still in this house, dude? Like, get the fuck out of the house. So yeah, apparently lived there as a kid, brought the girlfriend, had the baby. Like, everybody gets to visit the ghosts, I guess. I don't know. But he's out of there now, and good luck to you, K Mendo. Hopefully you don't have to see that little boy anymore, and you don't wake up to your child talking to people that aren't there. Anyways, so that's just a couple of fun stories for now. And I'm going to try to bring around a new episode to discuss some more serious topics. Not that this wasn't fun, but I do want to bring some more regular subjects to talk about on a more personal level. And we will get to that into the future, I promise you. Thank you for tuning in and enjoying these creepy stories. And don't forget to share, like, review. Like I said, all that stuff helps. And I will try to get more episodes to you as much as possible if you all can just help me out with all that. And I think that's it. Everything's in the show notes, all the links, email, any suggestions, topics you want me to go over. It's an open door. So let's go ahead and do as usual and take us out with some good music. Feel free to send that as well. I love supporting y'all, and happy Halloween. And why the fuck did my voice do that? Happy Halloween. Anyways, much love, and talk to y'all later. Peace.
Exit!